Hey Bat fans, welcome back to DC Comics Unmasked. Today we're going to be continuing our exploration of the modern age of Batman, starting with the year 2000. Now, for those of you who don't know, this is our third video out of 4 on the history of the modern age of Batman. So if you've missed the first 2 parts, the links to those videos are found in the description box below, so just click on those to catch up. Otherwise, just a quick reminder, we get tons of spoilers in these videos, so, proceed at your own peril. And of course, we need to get right into it, so let's get to it with the modern age of Batman in the new millennia. We left off last time with Batman and his allies having to deal with one disaster after the next, as Gotham was first hit with a deadly virus, followed by an earthquake, and finally being cut off from the rest of the United States, allowing the villains, heroes, and people left behind to carve out factions as a series of gang wars ran rampant throughout the now lawless streets in the No Man's Land saga. Now, while I explained that the eventual resolution of this situation, with Batman and his allies calming the gang wars from within, while Lex Luthor set about rebuilding the city, as it was welcomed back to the rest of the United States, this resolution actually didn't finish until the first few months of the year 2000. These last couple of chapters also included the shocking chapter called Endgame, from Detective Comics 741. Where the Joker murders Commissioner Gordon's second wife, Sarah Essen Gordon. Batman's temporary absence from the beginning of the No Man's Land saga, combined with the death of Sarah, caused a huge strain in his relationship with Commissioner Gordon. In an attempt to repair the damage, Batman tried to reveal his identity as Bruce Wayne to the Commissioner. But Gordon turns away, not looking, saying that he doesn't want to know who was under the hood. As March rolls around, DC publishes yet another new Batman series, called Gotham Knights, which would not only feature Batman, but his extended family, such as Nightwing, Robin, Batgirl, Oracle, Alfred, and Catwoman, to name a few, though it would eventually come to focus more on his enemies. With Gotham being rebuilt, Batman still had to stay on his guard, as a new villain, the patriotic zealot known as the Banner, threatens the city's fragile stability. But unlike the years that have gone before, the year 2000 is generally comprised of short or standalone stories, such as the appearance of a new villain, Orca, a marine biologist turned into a human/killer whale hybrid introduced in Batman 579. Though the League of Assassins once again begins to stir, as Ra's al Ghul's agents, Kyle Abbott and Whisper O'Dare, are introduced in Detective Comics 743, heralding the return of the man himself in the 750th issue of Detective Comics, where he once again takes on the Dark Knight. The following issue of Detective Comics, number 751, would introduce another character into the Batman mythos, as Bruce Wayne's friend and ally, Lucius Fox, would assign Bruce a new bodyguard, Sacha Bordeaux, who, despite Bruce's efforts to avoid, would eventually learn of Bruce's secret identity. He would go on to train her as his newest apprentice, to fight beside Batman. However, Sacha would in turn fall in love with him, despite the fact that he was still involved with Vesper Fairchild. Moving into the year 2001, the general population of the city seemed to catch a break, as the next saga in the Batman comics would focus much more on the GCPD, as Batman issue 587 would mark the beginning of the Officer Down storyline. In this story, Commissioner Gordon is shot on his birthday, on his way to visit Barbara, after having a drink with some of the other officers at a local bar. Just before the shooting, Gordon runs into Catwoman and tries to arrest her, but he is shot in the back 3 times by an unseen assailant, but one of the bullets grazes Catwoman. Gordon is rushed to the hospital and into surgery. Barbara is brought into the hospital while Batman and the rest of his allies learn about what has happened. However, in a strangely out-of-character move, Batman seems emotionally paralyzed by the shooting, staying by Gordon's side while Oracle and the rest of the Bat family try to track down who has done this. Once again spanning several Batman family titles, including Nightwing, Catwoman, Birds of Prey, Detective Comics, Robin, and Gotham Knights, this story gives a much more detailed look into the officers under Gordon, such as Harvey Bullock and Renee Montoya. These characters get some of the spotlight tracking down the shooter who ends up being revealed as a new member of the GCPD, an officer, Jordan Rich, who before No Man's Land had been arrested by Gordon under the name Jordan Reynolds. Now, while Gordon recovers, an interesting twist is involved in the storyline, being that justice does not get served. Well, at least not as far as we know. With not enough evidence against Rich, the police were forced to let him go. Yet before Batman can get to the shooter, Rich disappears, leaving us with a pretty unsatisfying ending. But one major fallout resulted from this storyline, that being the retirement of Jim as police commissioner and the introduction of his replacement, Commissioner Michael Akins. Meanwhile, Batman also gets to have a role in a Wonder Woman storyline. We're starting with the issue 164 of Wonder Woman's second series. Wonder Woman travels to Gotham to help Batman in capturing Poison Ivy, the Scarecrow, and the Joker, who have each been possessed by the children of Ares. Eris, the goddess of discord, Phobos, the god of fear, and Deimos, the god of terror, respectively. Though also around this time, Batman himself was temporarily possessed by Phobos as well, before being saved by Wonder Woman. Other interesting things of note that happened in the Batman world this year included the introduction of a new hero in the form of Orpheus, who first appeared in the 5-part miniseries Batman Orpheus Rising, and would soon work in tandem with the Dark Knight. Finally, the last Batman project to come out this year would be the return of artist Frank Miller and his new story, The Dark Knight Strikes Again. A follow-up to Miller's 1986 work, the story takes place 3 years after Batman The Dark Knight returns, and follows an aging Batman as he led a revolution against the totalitarian state ruled by Lex Luthor and Brainiac. However, the series proved to be controversial, as Miller turned fan favorite Dick Grayson into a new incarnation of the Joker, which didn't really sit well with most fans. Going into 2002, it wasn't Batman who ended up being in trouble, but his civilian persona, Bruce Wayne, in the Batman Bruce Wayne Murderer storyline. When Bruce returns to Wayne Manor with his bodyguard Sasha, the two of them find the body of his ex-girlfriend, Vesper Fairchild. The police arriving suspiciously soon after, both Bruce and Sasha are incarcerated in Blackgate Penitentiary, leaving the other members of the Bat family to investigate the crime. However, as Oracle, Nightwing, and the others dig deeper into the mystery, the evidence against Bruce continues to pile up, including a possible motive of Vesper having known Bruce's secret identity and having planned to expose him. With his own allies beginning to question his innocence, Bruce escapes from Blackgate and announces his plan to do away with his life as Bruce Wayne and only exist as Batman. From here, the story changes from Bruce Wayne murderer to Bruce Wayne fugitive, as Bruce struggles not only to discover who actually killed Vesper and framed him, but with the complications that arise from his decision to abandon his identity as Bruce Wayne. Together with the other members of the Bat family, he learns that Lex Luthor was behind the whole fiasco, having hired David Kane, Batgirl Cassandra Cain's father, to frame Bruce for Vesper's murder in retaliation for his interference in Luthor's attempt to gain control of Gotham during the No Man's Land saga. Batman and his allies capture Kane and clear Bruce's name. However, Sasha is forced to remain in Blackgate. Bruce continuously tries to free her, but finds that she has supposedly died in prison. But upon further investigation discovers that she has been recruited as an operative of Checkmate, a division of Task Force X, better known as the Suicide Squad. They are able to meet one last time where Bruce confesses his love for her. However, Sasha says she no longer loves him and that he would be best to forget about her. While this two-part saga was interesting, it didn't hold a candle to what artist Jim Lee unleashed in the pages of Batman 608. Written by Batman superstar Jeff Loeb, this new 12-part saga entitled Hush, which spanned from the end of 2002 well into 2003, would bring about huge changes to the life of the Dark Knight. The story begins with Batman rescuing a kidnapped young man from Killer Croc. However, the ransom money that he'd hoped to reclaim is taken by Catwoman. Batman chases after her, but during the pursuit has one of his grappling lines cut and falls. Huntress comes to save him and returns him to the Batcave. With his skull now fractured, Bruce is surprisingly able to have Alfred go get Thomas Elliot, a former childhood friend of Bruce who grew up to be a neurosurgeon, to come and fix him up. Once he is recovered, he once again goes after Catwoman, to find that she was under Poison Ivy's control all along. And after rescuing her, the attraction that they have been harboring for one another finally blooms into a full romance. Batman even goes as far to finally reveal his secret identity to her. But as this is Batman we're talking about, obviously there's always another crisis right around the corner. Poison Ivy goes to Metropolis, placing Superman under her control to pit against Batman. But with some help from Catwoman and a kryptonite ring, Batman is able to break the spell on Superman and apprehend Poison Ivy. Yet we start to see that she was not the mastermind behind these plots. Later, at an opera in Gotham in which Bruce, Selina Kyle, Leslie Tompkins, and Dr. Thomas Elliot attend, the Joker and Harley try to rob the place. The Joker shoots and apparently kills Dr. Elliot, resulting in Batman attempting to beat the Joker to death, but he is dissuaded by Jim Gordon, whose gun superficially wounds Batman. Convinced that the last few incidents are all part of some larger plot, Batman brings Nightwing into the investigation, while we the readers get to see the mastermind behind all of this, a mysterious figure whose face is covered in bandages, who goes by the name Hush. Continuing their investigation, Batman and Nightwing foil an armed car robbery by the Riddler, and the two find evidence that Ra's al Ghul is also somehow involved. But upon confronting him, Ra's reveals that someone from Bruce's past has used one of the Lazarus pits, capable of resurrection. Things just seem to go downhill from there, as Batman learns that the current Robin, Tim Drake, has supposedly been kidnapped by a resurrected Jason Todd. But during the ensuing conflict, it is revealed that the kidnapper was in fact Clayface, who was merely imitating Jason Todd on Hush's orders. Batman doesn't seem to be any closer to figuring out who is behind all of this, until he finds a device planted on his computer. He seeks out his trusted mechanic Harold for an explanation. Harold admits to planting the device in exchange for medication treatment for his disfiguration. But before he is able to name who put him up to it, he is shot and killed by Hush. Without going into too many details, it is discovered that the man behind the bandages is in fact the believed to be deceased Dr. Thomas Elliot, who had both the Joker and Clayface help him fake his own death. Apparently Elliot had a grudge against the Waynes, as Bruce's father had saved Elliot's parents after a car crash that he had orchestrated, hoping to get his inheritance that much sooner. The final confrontation with Hush takes a strange turn, as it is a recently cured Harvey Dent who shoots the man. Hush falls into the waters below and is lost. And though we are fairly certain that it was Elliot under the bandages, neither Batman nor the reader ever sees for sure. In the aftermath of Hush's apparent death, Batman learns that the Riddler was in fact the true mastermind behind the conspiracy, and was the one who had used the Lazarus Pit to cure himself of cancer. His time in the pit proved to be the catalyst for the Riddler's greatest deduction, the true identity of Batman. The Riddler had then teamed up with Elliot to bring down Bruce Wayne, but was obviously unsuccessful. However, despite the fact that the Riddler now knew the truth, he was unable to expose Batman, partly in fear that Batman would inform Ra's and the League of Assassins that he was the one who had used the Lazarus Pit, thus bringing the full weight of the League of Assassins down on him, but more importantly, as Batman said, the Riddler valued knowing the secrets of all the riddles. But if everyone knew the secret, it would be worthless. As the story wraps up, two more things of note happen. One, the relationship between Batman and Catwoman draws to a close. Two, upon further investigation, Batman discovers that the grave of Jason Todd is now empty. After having dealt with such a long storyline, the writers at DC backed off a bit before diving into another large Batman saga. In the meantime, they produced a couple short miniseries, such as Death and the Maidens, where a dying Ra's al Ghul gives Bruce the opportunity to speak to his dead parents, followed by a short murder mystery, Broken City, which starred Killer Croc. During all of this, there is a small changing of the guard in a story arc called War Drums, as Tim Drake steps down from being Robin at his father's urging, while his ex-girlfriend Stephanie Brown, aka Spoiler, takes up his mantle to become the first female Robin, not counting the future Carrie Kelley, that is. However, she doesn't last very long, as Batman fires her from the position after only 71 days for her inability to follow orders. On the larger DC stage, the 7-part miniseries Identity Crisis would heavily strain Batman's relationship with the rest of the Justice League, as during an investigation into the murder of Sue Dibney, that is, the wife of superhero Elongated Man, would bring to light some of the more shady practices of the JLA. More specifically, the altering of memories that was performed not only on villains who posed a threat to security, but to Batman as well, who didn't agree with the practice. The result of all this would be Batman's creation of the Brother MK1 satellite that would be used to monitor superhumans and would play an important role in the following crossover storyline, Infinite Crisis. As the Identity Crisis story wraps up, a new saga starts up in the Batman world, with Batman: The 12-Cent Adventure, that leads into the War Games storyline. The story picks up after Batman fires Stephanie Brown as the latest Robin. Not willing to take this lying down, Stephanie tries to prove her usefulness by putting one of Batman's contingency plans to put Matches Malone in charge of the Gotham underworld into effect, not realizing that Malone is one of Batman's undercover personas. She sets up a meeting with a bunch of Gotham's most powerful gang leaders, and things quickly go to hell in a handbasket, as she is unable to stop the shootout that occurs. Gang warfare on a huge scale breaks out and results in the death of Darla Acquista, one of Tim Drake's friends, prompting Tim to become Robin once more. The ensuing conflict is a destructive and bloody one, resulting in the destruction of Oracle's headquarters and the deaths of Batman's new ally Orpheus and Stephanie, who had retaken her spoiler persona. Both heroes were killed by Black Mask, who gained control of almost all the city's gangs. Furthermore, the public have now started to turn against Batman and other masked heroes, believing them to be responsible for the gang war. The GCPD are ordered to shoot Batman or anyone in a mask on sight. Wow, things are really heating up for our Cape Crusader. But to find out what happens next, you're gonna have to wait until our 4th and final video on the modern age of Batman. But it should be pretty exciting stuff, so please stay tuned. Also, if you are enjoying what you're seeing, please like and subscribe. And check out our other shows such as A Cup of Ice and Fire, as well as Harvey and Jill's Not So Perfect Reviews. Once again, thanks for watching, and we hope to see you again. All right, bye.